insecurities just seem to undermine. We can't talk about it. You've got to work around me. True feelings should allow little space for caring, sharing, love's waiting on you. True lovers would agree that's not the way to be. Hoping, love's waiting on you. Feel like I've done 10 miles in a boxing ring with my feelings, how it hurts. There must be some hope left still inside of me, because we stuck together, though the good times have been there. True feelings should allow little space for hoping, sharing, love's waiting on you. True lovers would agree that's not the way to be. Caring, sharing, for love to shine through.
Hi, this is the last session of Rockschool for a while, and since we've been talking about vocals, which is after all what pop music is all about, we thought we'd better get in a real vocalist to wind up the series. So I'd like to introduce you to the lead vocalist of one of Britain's most exciting bands working week, the one and only Juliet Roberts.
Thank you, Henry. It's nice to be here.
More from Juliet in a moment, but first we're going to try to put together some of the things that we've been dealing with through the series. Given the techniques and the technology that we've been looking at, just how can these be used to structure and arrange songs?
Arrangement deals with how you put a song across, and this involves the feel or style of the backing. For example, is it funky or is it straight ahead rock? Is it music to dance to or for sitting cross-legged in the middle of a room? Also, you have to think about the structure. How many verses and choruses? Do you have an instrumental break? And so on. These considerations apply to any style of rock.
Song structure can vary enormously, but there are certain elements that nearly always appear. For example, pop songs often tend to be 3 minutes long and contain at least 2 different sections. The song we played just then was structured verse, chorus, verse, chorus. The verse was 16 bars long, consisted of 2 different chords, and then there came a chord change which led into the chorus. Now, choruses tend to be shorter, more repetitive, and hopefully the bits that you go around humming because they're so catchy. Now, another element that's often found in songs is something called the bridge or middle 8. Now, the middle 8 often consists of 8 bars, is found in the middle of songs, and if you like, it's a release from the constant repetition of verse and chorus into a different chord sequence. Sometimes it's played instrumentally. Now, we've written a middle 8 to go with this song, and what you'll hear now is the chorus going into the new middle 8, and then back into an instrumental chorus and finishing on a sung chorus.
True lovers would agree that's not the way to be. Hoping, hoping for love to shine through. We both accept we've grown apart from time. Our plans and goals seem to have all taken their toll.
Right, that was song structure in a nutshell. Now let's have a look at some aspects of arrangement. The first thing to do is to get a feel that works. And here, of course, the drums are crucial. Now, if a drum part isn't immediately obvious, it's a good idea to play something simple which can be added to, rather than throwing everything in straight away so that you can't see the wood for the trees. And even the simplest rhythm can have loads and loads of different options. Let's just have a look at a few. Just 4s to start with. Now 8. Now syncopate the bass drum. Now the hi-hat. Now even the snare drum. Now you can play all this just on the hi-hat. Or even play inside notes, softer notes on the snare drum or hi-hat. Finally, you could go up to the ride cymbal. Now, if after all that the simplest rhythm is the best, okay, because all of those ideas can be used as fills or as ideas to lead from one section to the next without losing the feel. This is demonstrated next by the drummer from Sting's band. Notice how he uses inside notes on the snare drum and builds to the ride cymbal as he explains how he developed the drum part for the track Children's Crusade. Here is Omar Hakim.
We started with, for instance, the 3/4 and the hi-hat. And then I added a backbeat that is not necessarily on the 2 or the 3 of the 3/4, but it's leaning more in the 6/8 feeling of it. And then I used the bass drum to kind of accent the bass part that Darryl Jones was playing, or the vocal kind of, and it would be. When we opened up the song, when the solo sections came up, and I would try to keep the same bass going, but give it the more rock and roll power, okay? So, for instance,
Okay, so you've got your rhythm. Let's look at the bass line. The bass is in a unique position because it has to follow the drum part, very often the bass drum, and at the same time the chord and sequence-based riffs of the other instruments. Now, whatever the style of music, there are 1 or 2 rules of thumb that you should bear in mind. At its simplest, a bass line should simply follow the root notes of each chord, as in this next example of D minor, C and G. However, you don't have to stick to the root notes. You could try adding the 5th and octave of each chord. You could miss out the root note altogether and substitute the 3rd, or use notes from the key scale of the song to build up a melody. With the advent of synthesizers, keyboard players have found it possible to record bass lines that went down to low E flats, even down to low Cs. In fact, synth bass lines have now become a fact of life on most modern records, hence the development of this instrument, the 5-string bass, with a low string that goes down to a B. It's quite thick and flexible at the same time, and the neck has to be strengthened and has to be slightly wider to accommodate the extra tension and string spacing. In the pickups, it has to have active circuitry to hone in on those low bass frequencies. As with all new toys, it's very tempting to overdo it with those low notes, so exercise a little bit of taste. Apart from that, it's great fun to play because you can do all the modern techniques.
Now, we've been looking at songs that have verses, choruses, middle eights and lots of chord changes, but sometimes songs are built around just one chord or maybe just one riff. Now, the riff can go through the whole song or can just be played in one section, acting a little bit like the hook that a chorus usually is. Now, central riffs are common in music from disco to heavy metal, but they're often played on the guitar. Have a listen to this next example.
Keyboards can help build the texture of your song by maybe adding a new part when you return to a verse or chorus. A familiar basic keyboard part is a wash of sustained chords, sometimes known as a pad or carpet. These state the chord sequence softly in the background and leaves other instruments like maybe the guitar to do things like play single line riffs, like here. Or you can bring in the pad later. This thickens the chords in the same way that strings are often used to do, like maybe in the second verse. So start with piano, and later add your strings. Keyboards can also highlight or counterpoint the vocal melody. We talked about this to Steel Pulse keyboard player Selwyn Brown.
It's like we might have like a basic arrangement. You know, it could be say 4 chords. You know, and we sort of make that run for a while, and it's like we sort of play around the scale first, and then try and create a feel from that. And we sort of listen to the vocals a lot as well, you know. And you find that in a lot of reggae songs, say the vocal is something similar to it, you know. And then always referring back to like the vocal lines, so that no matter how many horn lines you fit in, it will still relate back.
Once you've written your song, you'll find that the mood of the song is often reflected in the key you've chosen. Major keys are usually associated with happy and bright feelings, whereas minor keys have a sad, moodier sound, as we found when we talked to Tony Banks of Genesis and Ultravox frontman Midge Ure.
There's something about playing a minor chord sequence that is very sort of, it's evocative, it's very, something a bit passionate about it. As well as being a bit miserable, because we're such a miserable band at times. We write the most miserable songs about people dying and all sorts. And minor keys tend to do that. I mean, there's such nice things you can do with it. You know, really nice notes you can put together. I mean, they're just nice picky notes that you can't really do on majors. Majors always sound so happy and up, and if you want to write a miserable song, pick a minor.
Typical example from the early days was the section from Sapper's Radio, which we called Apocalypse in 9/8, for lack of a better title. And, you know, that keeps just one guitar riff going all the way through, which was just this. Now, what was fun with that with me, it was the first time I really tried it. was just trying any chords with that sound good. You know, you can either, if you play an E major with that, a very happy little thing. But if you play these chords, it has a more dramatic sort of feel, you know, and which is how we did it really, just sort of built it up, so the built up in fact of the dramatic chords and brought the vocals back in when it got to the most dramatic chord in the thing, and then the whole thing sort of took off, I think, and it was a real peak of the song. A very important sort of feature. It's just quite fun how you can change the character, I think, of a note.
Another factor in choosing your key might be how hard you find that key to play in. Guitarists, for example, often prefer keys where they can use open strings. Also, some people find that each key will suggest them a different mood. Here are Richard Coles and Jimmy Somerville of the Communards.
Something inside of me is out of control. Baby can stop it, so just let it go.
Even the difference of just a semitone, like the smallest distance between two keys, makes a real difference to the tone and the quality of the note as well. Like there's, for instance, B flat is one we've used for a lot of sort of power stuff. And then we go into B minor, which is like, you know, that far away, but it gives it a much more sort of fragile quality. That's just an illustration of the sort of, when you get into the chorus figure, that is the B flat, and that's when it starts sort of, it's just a really sort of powerful building key there. And then if you just go one semitone up to B minor,
in this garden where bitter poison rots, but all the same, every day brings another tear. Behind each there lies a hidden fear. Someday soon we will have our day. Until then, our love forbidden stays. Our love forbidden stays.
We've been looking at some arrangement ideas for the individual instruments in the band. The purpose of this, of course, is to make the song sound as good as it can. But it doesn't mean a thing if the vocalist isn't happy. So, to get some ideas on the singer's viewpoint, here's Juliet.
Firstly, what I look for in an arrangement are spaces where I can emphasize and develop the given melody. Look at lyrics, not just in what they mean, but whether they are too few or too many in one line. Also, whether it's sung right way, it's in the right key, I'm feeling comfortable, and I'm feeling relaxed. Relaxation is the key word in conjunction with posture, and one way I've achieved this is by thinking that I'm blowing into a balloon, taking a deep breath and blowing out gradually with a sound or a note, like this. Getting to know one's own voice is very important, knowing its sound and its capability. A lot of people start off singing by singing along to records and get a very big shock when they hear themselves unaccompanied. So taping yourself helps you to hear the true you. For some time, I found out that singing certain vowels in words created tension in my throat. So I began to darken the vowels of words and thinking of them in a rounder sound. For example, the word please. The E would be thought of as in and would be said pliss. Sung, it would be like this. Pliss. Articulation and pronunciation determine the way that you sing and express a song. Here is a melody I was given. A very simple melody. When will you realize? And here are a couple of different interpretations of the same line. When will you realize? Or when will you realize? Which all make up your individual style. Now, when working with a band, you have to blend the vocals to the overall sound. And you have to approach this by thinking of the voice as another instrument. Here is Ultravox's lead singer, Midjur.
I tend to break the vocals down into sections. And I understand the sounds that the vocals should be making. Like whether it's a very tight quiet, almost whispered sound, so the microphone's very, very close to your mouth, and you sing it incredibly quietly, and you get a really nice, warm, whispery effect from that. So I'll maybe have a couple of lines sung like that, and then a soaring, really high vocal come out over the top of it. So I understand how the vocals should sound, and piece them together as such, just like you would layer, or a keyboard should play this, and a guitar should play here, and then the hi-hat should come in. So you're building it up, so the vocals aren't just something you stick on at the top, at the end, you know, it's like, it's not the icing on the cake. You've got to actually keep constructing the music, even just though you're using your voice.
Well, that's about it for this series of Rock School. We're going to play out now with a number which features all the points that we've mentioned about song arrangement. However, your arrangement isn't complete without a beginning and an end. The intro should give you a taste of what's to come. So maybe you could start off with a simplified version of one of the sections of the song. For the ending, well, we're lucky enough to have a fade out courtesy of the BBC.
We're going to leave you with a complete arrangement. Here's the Rock School Band featuring Juliet.